Hello and greetings to all. The purpose of this video is to share the foremost reaction that I've encountered even in the early stages of my Indigenous activism and advocacy. This is pretty much the predominant sentiment which many so openly express toward anybody who chooses to advocate for an oppressed minority group, particularly Indigenous people who are often viewed as antiquated, irrelevant, something out of some history book. Um, Now, we can see this so obviously by how openly sports team mascots exploit and degrade Native American imagery, from face painting, tomahawk wielding, and wearing regalia, which is otherwise only worn by prominent leaders of indigenous communities. This view is pretty much that of get over it. There was a game of conquest that began more than 500 years. As a result, the Indians unfortunately have lost, so we're needing to suck it up, stop being a snowflake, and get with the times. This view does promote that the Native American way of life is for the most part non-existent, and it's partially true since the ancestral ways of life continue to decimate as a result, primordially, of forceful relocation of indigenous peoples from their ancestral homelands, breaking them off of the land they've known as home for time immemorial. No other example comes to mind than our own nation's history through the Indian Removal Acts. Look that up. The more renowned one is that of the Trail of Tears, in which Cherokees primarily were relocated westward to the territories of Oklahoma. Now, this view does promote an erasure of indigenous peoples, which in reality is not just a presence that is undeniable in this continent, but this hemisphere and the world at large. So, as such, as indigenous activists, it behooves us to advocate for the traditional brothers and sisters who continue to thrive elsewhere in the planet, in our continent, by reviving the indigenous sentiment. I've shared before the fact that I see this as a spectrum of indigeneity, where we have our more traditional brothers and sisters, as such in the Amazon, those living traditionally, and anywhere in between, we as colonized Chicanos and everybody else, we are still in the experience together, and as such, we do need to advocate toward one another. So regardless of how vocal everybody is for us to get over it and just sit back and enjoy a sports event, even though there's people with faces painted and all sorts of ridiculous headdresses. We indigenous activists are withstanding the current. We're not crybabies and we're not snowflakes, because we're actually taking a stance against the oppressive majority that predates myself as a person, but not my people and my connection to my ancestry and my heritage. I will continue this video with others in a series. That way I don't cram too much information in one particular video. I do want to speak more about the trauma that is brought about by removing indigenous people from their homelands. So stay tuned, and I'll leave you my farewells and blessings.